Alien pyramids, ancient Egyptian gods, and a mysterious portal connecting planets across the universe. Stargate combined mythology and science fiction in a way that had never been seen before, but creating this universe was far from easy. From building massive desert sets to designing alien creatures and spaceships, the filmmakers had to rely on practical effects, miniatures, and early visual effects technology. So, in this video, we're going behind the scenes to uncover how the incredible world of Stargate was actually brought to life. One of the most visually striking elements in the film is the appearance of Raw soldiers, the intimidating guards with animal-shaped helmets inspired by ancient Egyptian gods. These designs were created by creature and costume designer Patrick Tatopoulos. The idea was that the alien ruler Ra had once dominated Earth's Egyptian civilization, and his army adopted the visual identity of their gods. Some helmets were designed to resemble the jackal-headed god Anubis, while others had the falcon-like shape of Horus. This immediately gave the soldiers a mythical and otherworldly presence. Interestingly, these heads were not created with CGI. Instead, they were fully practical costumes. The helmets were sculpted using fiberglass and foam rubber, then coated with metallic paint so they would appear like ancient bronze armor under the camera lights. Inside the helmets was a metal support framework with internal padding so stunt performers could wear them safely during filming. For the glowing eyes seen in close-up shots, the designers installed acrylic lenses with small lights behind them. This allowed the guards' eyes to glow with an eerie light, making them appear even more intimidating. However, wearing these massive helmets made movement extremely difficult. Because of this limitation, scenes involving the guards were carefully choreographed. They were often shown standing still, marching slowly, or performing ceremonial movements around Ra. These restrained actions helped hide the difficulty of the costumes, while making the guards appear more disciplined and mysterious. Another fascinating practical creation in the film is the giant hairy alien creature seen on the desert planet Abydos, known as the Mastage. The creature was designed to function like a desert beast of burden, similar to a camel or horse, capable of transporting people and heavy cargo across the harsh desert environment. To make the animal feel believable within the world of the film, designers gave it a large body, an elongated neck, and thick fur that suggested it had evolved to survive extreme desert climates. Behind the scenes, however, the Mastage was created using a clever, practical technique. The base of the creature was actually a real Clydesdale horse, a powerful draft horse breed known for its large size. On top of the horse, the effects team mounted a large creature costume made of artificial fur, foam latex body sections, and an extended alien neck structure. This costume weighed nearly 150 pounds and used fabric frames and plastic tubing to expand the animal's silhouette, so it would appear larger and more alien. The creature's head was built as a small animatronic device that could be controlled remotely. When the Mastage needed to react, move its head, or interact with characters like Daniel Jackson, an off-camera puppeteer operated the mechanism to create realistic movement. One particularly clever moment occurs when the Mastage drags Daniel across the desert. Surprisingly, that shot did not involve the horse at all. Instead, the filmmakers used a trained Australian shepherd dog, wearing a miniature Mastage costume with fake fur and foam hooves. The dog ran across the sand while dragging a dummy stand-in for the actor. By combining 3 different techniques, the real horse for wide shots, animatronic heads for close-ups, and the costume dog for action shots, the filmmakers created a creature that felt alive and believable. In Stargate, the moment when the team first steps through the Stargate and arrives on a mysterious desert planet is one of the most iconic reveals in sci-fi cinema. The camera slowly opens up to endless sand dunes, distant pyramids, and an unfamiliar world that instantly makes the audience feel like they've traveled to another world. But behind the scenes, creating this alien world was far from simple. The reality was intense, challenging, and required some very clever filmmaking solutions. All the major desert sequences, where the team walks through endless dunes, spots the distant pyramid, and eventually discovers the alien village, were filmed in the vast sand dunes near Yuma, close to the Arizona-California border. This region was chosen because it offers enormous natural dunes that stretch for miles, creating the perfect illusion of an untouched alien landscape. Director Ronald Emmerich and producer Dean Devlin were specifically searching for a location that would look completely endless and otherworldly on camera. They needed a place where modern buildings, roads, or signs of civilization wouldn't appear in the background. Shooting in Egypt might have seemed like the obvious choice, but it would have created major logistical problems, including filming permissions, tourist interference, and visible modern structures. Because of that, the American desert became the perfect alternative, giving the production full control over the environment, while still delivering the massive scale the story required. In this sequence, we also see the enormous pyramid entrance where the second Stargate is located. Surprisingly, this wasn't just a digital effect. The production team actually built a large physical pyramid facade right in the middle of the desert dunes. The art department constructed a multi-story structure designed to resemble an Egyptian-style alien pyramid when viewed from a distance. However, building such a structure in a desert environment came with a major challenge. Sand is not stable ground. To solve this, the crew first built strong internal metal and wooden support frames. Over those frames, they added lightweight exterior materials that formed the pyramid's outer shape. This design allowed the structure to appear massive on camera, while keeping the overall weight manageable and safe for the desert terrain. Filming in the Yuma Desert was extremely demanding. Temperatures often climbed to around 49 to 52 degrees Celsius, 120 degrees Fahrenheit or higher, making conditions very difficult for both the cast and the crew. To prevent dehydration, the production had to supply thousands of gallons of water every day. Despite these precautions, some extras were unable to continue filming because of the extreme heat. But the heat wasn't the only problem. One of the most frustrating challenges was maintaining sand continuity. Every time actors walked across the dunes, they left footprints behind. At the same time, constant wind would reshape the sand surface. So before almost every new take, the crew had to carefully rake and comb the sand to erase footprints and smooth the surface again. If you watch behind-the-scenes footage, you can actually see crew members repeatedly preparing the sand before filming each shot. This process was incredibly time-consuming and often caused delays between takes. The final battle sequence in Stargate, where the villagers rise up against raw soldiers, might look like a massive cinematic spectacle on screen. But behind the scenes, capturing that action required an intense and carefully coordinated production process. To film the battle efficiently, the crew set up multiple cameras at the same time. The goal was to capture the same action from several different angles simultaneously. This approach allowed the editors to later cut between shots quickly, making the battlefield more chaotic, intense, and large in scale. Many of the explosions seen during the fight were created using practical pyrotechnics. Instead of relying entirely on digital effects, the crew placed controlled explosion charges in the ground to generate real dust blasts and impact effects. Actors and stunt performers were positioned at carefully calculated safe distances while these explosions were triggered. When filmed from the right angles, the dust bursts looked like the result of futuristic weapons striking the ground. Later, during post-production, visual effects artists enhanced these shots by adding glowing energy beams and weapon blasts. The film's visual effects were supervised by Jeff Kleiser, whose team used custom software and advanced compositing techniques for the time. By layering digital energy effects over practical explosions, they were able to create the convincing illusion of alien technology firing powerful weapons during the battle. The mysterious desert village of Nagata, where the enslaved humans live, appears in the film as a fully developed alien civilization. In reality, it was created using a smart blend of practical construction, matte paintings, and early digital effects. The physical village set was built in the Arizona desert near the same dunes used for Abiatus. Production designers constructed a partial settlement that included a central courtyard, several mud-style buildings, gates, and elevated pathways. However, building an entire city would have been far too expensive and time-consuming. Instead, the visual effects team extended the village using matte paintings and early digital compositing. When the camera captured wide shots of the settlement, these painted extensions were blended seamlessly with the real set. This made Nagata appear far larger than it actually was. Constructing buildings in the desert presented another technical challenge. Sand constantly shifts and cannot easily support heavy structures. To solve this problem, the crew first built internal wooden and metal frames and anchored them deeply into the ground. Lightweight materials were then added on top to create the Egyptian-inspired textures seen on screen. Because desert winds could easily damage the set, the structures were inspected and reinforced daily before filming began. In the film, the massive circular device known as the Stargate wasn't just a simple prop placed on a set. It was actually the result of an ambitious combination of science fiction theory, artistic design, practical engineering, and early 1990s visual effects. Director Ronald Emmerich and writer-producer Dean Devlin wanted the portal to feel both ancient and futuristic at the same time. To achieve this unique look, the design team drew heavy inspiration from Egyptian mythology and blended it with the idea of advanced alien technology. During pre-production, concept artists created dozens of detailed sketches exploring the size, surface texture, and mechanics of the gate. One of the most recognizable elements, the ring covered in mysterious hieroglyphic-style symbols, was carefully designed to suggest an ancient language that also functioned as a technological interface. Initially, the team considered painting the gate plain black, but during lighting tests, it looked flat and lifeless on camera. Because of that, the final version was given a metallic, stone-like finish, so the set lighting would reflect across its surface and make the structure feel massive and real. For the film, the crew built a full-scale Stargate prop, using fiberglass and metal. The most impressive feature was that the inner ring could actually rotate using a motorized mechanism. When the symbols were dialed, the ring physically spun on set, allowing the camera to capture real mechanical movement. The most iconic moment comes when the Stargate activates and a liquid-like portal suddenly forms inside the ring. Today, this might be created entirely with CGI, but in 1994, the effects team relied heavily on practical experimentation. To create the initial energy surge, later nicknamed the Kawoosh by fans, the crew filmed a powerful water explosion inside a large tank. Using high-pressure air cannons, they blasted water outward to create a dramatic burst that looked like an energy wave expanding from the center of the gate. This real water blast was captured using high-speed cameras. In post-production, the footage was digitally manipulated and rotated vertically, so it appeared to erupt outward from the Stargate. Visual effects artists then added shimmering light ripples and subtle reflections to make the surface appear like a stable, mirror-like membrane of energy. The result was one of the most memorable sci-fi portals ever created, blending practical mechanics, water experiments, and early digital compositing into a groundbreaking visual effect. Beyond the Stargate itself, Stargate also featured ambitious alien vehicles, including the fast-moving attack craft known as the gliders. These sleek aircraft appear throughout the film as they dive through the skies of Abydos, performing sharp turns and firing energy blasts during aerial battles. The director wanted the gliders to feel unlike anything from Earth. Instead of traditional jet designs, the artists create shapes with smooth curves and wide wings that resemble the silhouette of a bird of prey. This gave the vehicles a predatory alien presence in the sky. At the same time, subtle Egyptian design elements were incorporated so that the ships visually matched the ancient mythology that defines Ra's civilization. Since fully computer-generated vehicles were still risky and expensive in the early 1990s, the visual effects team used a hybrid approach. For many aerial shots, highly detailed miniature models of the gliders were built and filmed using motion-control camera rigs. Motion control systems allowed the camera to move in precisely repeatable ways, which meant multiple passes of the same shot could be filmed and later combined in post-production. Some sequences also used practical miniatures, suspended with wires, which were digitally removed later. To enhance the sense of speed and power, visual effects artists added early CGI elements such as energy blasts and motion blur. By combining miniature photography, practical effects, and digital enhancements, the filmmakers achieved fluid and believable flight sequences without relying entirely on computer graphics. Another striking visual element in the film is the massive mothership belonging to Ra. The spacecraft appears as a giant pyramid floating in space, instantly connecting the alien technology to the iconography of ancient Egypt. The exterior design of the ship was intentionally inspired by pyramid structures, but scaled up to feel monumental and futuristic. When the ship appears above the desert or in space, the shots were created using a combination of real desert footage, miniature models, matte paintings, and digital compositing. Matte painting was a common technique at the time, where artists painted large environments on structures on glass or digitally. These paintings were then blended with live-action footage to create environments that would have been impossible to build physically. For several shots of the spaceships in space, miniature models were filmed under controlled lighting conditions. These miniature shots were then layered with starfield backgrounds and additional glow effects to create the final cinematic image. One of the most impressive environments in Stargate is the enormous pyramid temple where Ra resides. In the story, the structure stands on the alien planet Abydos and serves as the central location for the Stargate chamber. To create this environment, the filmmakers used a combination of real desert locations and large studio sets. Many of the exterior scenes, where characters traveled through vast dunes toward the temple, were filmed in the deserts around Yuma and other areas of California. However, the interior scenes of the temple were built on sound stages. Production designers constructed massive halls filled with towering pillars, engraved symbols, and golden surfaces inspired by Egyptian architecture. The hieroglyph-style carvings seen on the walls were intentionally designed to resemble real Egyptian writing, reinforcing the film's concept that Ra had once influenced ancient Egyptian civilization on Earth. The film's climax arrives when Colonel O'Neill secretly teleports a nuclear bomb into Ra's pyramid spaceship just moments before detonation. As the countdown reaches its final seconds, Ra realizes the trap, and in a dramatic reveal, his human disguise begins to break apart. Creature designer Patrick Tatopoulos and his effects team began developing Raw's alien form long before filming started. They create small prototype sculptures, known as maquettes, using clay and foam latex. These models allowed the filmmakers to experiment with the alien's head shape, skin texture, and proportions before committing to the final design. To create the reveal on screen, the effects team combined practical acting with digital compositing. First, the scene was filmed normally with the actor performing the moment on set. Later, in post-production, visual effects artists layered glowing energy and morphing effects over the footage. Raw's glowing eyes and fiery energy patterns were digitally added to suggest that an alien entity was emerging from within the human host. The transformation is brief but powerful, giving the audience a glimpse of the true extraterrestrial being hiding behind the disguise. If you enjoyed discovering the behind-the-scenes secrets of this film, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the filmmaking of your favorite movies.